stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm, watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud, let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore.
Hello, and thank you for joining us again. This is Ray Howell with Danger Aware. I'm the Chief Information Officer, and I just wanted to let you all know we're going to be working on a new character today, and I'm going to be explaining about digital DNA for Moho puppets. So let me bring up our character that we've been working on, and just a bit of warning, there's some major changes to the character since you last saw her. So here we go. Here is our new ZoyZoyHop. We had a meeting of the office staff on Monday, and everybody did not care for the green colors of the grasshopper. So we went through and changed ZoyZoy's look to what you see now. So this is our latest iteration of ZoyZoy. So ZoyZoyHop number 3, version 23. And we are now going to have to create ZoyZoy's relatives, because you can't have just a single character and never have other characters to interact with her. So to that end, we're going to create a variable character. This variable character will allow us to create on the fly as many as 7.9 octillion characters. Literally DNA for digital characters. So the way we do that is, I've taken our ZoyZoyHop character, and this is ZoyZoy here, and we don't want to recreate ZoyZoy in our DNA. So to that, I created this alternate version of Zoy, and this is going to be her relatives. And you can see the eyes are lower, the antennae are the same size, and in the same location at the back of the head, where on ZoyZoy one of her antennae is actually up here on top of her head. So she's a little unique in that. Her eyes are set higher up on the head, her mouth is lower in the face. So there will be no way for us to accidentally create ZoyZoyHop from this variable character. And for my variable characters, I name them any, and this is ZoyZoy's relatives, not just any grasshopper. but ZoyZoy's relatives specifically. So we're going to be able to create 8 octillion characters that are related to ZoyZoy. So let's go ahead and get into that now. And if you've watched before, you know what all these actions here are for and how the character operates. So I removed the head turns because I was redesigning the character. So after I've added all the DNA, I will go back and reset the head turn for the variable character. But we're going to start here with the first DNA, what do they call the chemicals, the DNA chemicals. So this will be our first chemical in the DNA chain, let's just call it that. And that is going to affect the skull size of our character. So we just create an action for it. Alright, so we're going to start with the skull size. We're going to rotate the control lever all the way to the left, and that's for our 0 position. Now you can tell that the constraints on these bones is greater than what I use over here, and so these are the standard constraints of -70 to 70, and I'm going to go ahead and use that because it gives us a lot more variability than if I cut it to 64. So our top value is going to be 140 because we're going -70 to 70, ignoring 0, and that gives us 140 character variability. So now we move this lever all the way to the right, and then we move into the part of the body it's going to affect, which is the skull size. So we're going to go to the skull, and we're not going to affect the entire head here. We're only affecting the top of the skull. So we're only going to grab these 2 points here and hit T to grab them. And this is our farthest up number, 140. So this will be where the head is at its widest. So holding the Alt key, we grab this and stretch it out. And we go, all right, we want our character's skull to be no bigger than, let's say, right there. In fact, that's probably too big. That doesn't look like a grasshopper head anymore. So let's bring it back down. And if you zoom in, if you notice when I was back here trying to adjust this, it was jumping all over the place. And if you zoom in, you get much better control. So let's go about right there for a maximum skull size. And instead of just going sideways, let's also bring this point. So we're going to hit T and bring this point up. So we get a bigger skull like that. So that'll be our largest grasshopper skull for relatives of ZoyZoyHop. And we want to change the name here to ZoyZoyHop's relatives. So want to make sure I'm in the right document here. So yeah, this is going to be Zoy's rel. Let's go. So for Zoy's relatives. And I've named it any Zoy's relative. And this is my second drawing of the character. So now we go back to 1 in our timeline for the action, which is skull size. And we're going to grab those points again. So we need to be back in the skull layer, which is right here. And we grab this point here and we're going to bring it down because we brought it up for the highest number. So hit T and just drag it straight down. And then we're going to grab these 2 and using T to grab them and then Alt to move them into the center together. And we're going to zoom in because we're getting that really quick moving action. So let's shrink the skull in. Let's not go any smaller than that nose is wide. And as you see, we're going to have to adjust the antenna with this adjustment, but that's fine. We can do that. So there's our minimal skull for our grasshoppers, which is quite a bit different than what I've done on the ants. So I think this will work. So now what we need to do is go to the bone layer, because we're going to move these bones of the antennae so that the controls for those bones moves with the character too. So now we just bring these in like this, and we want them to be balanced, so let's get them to about the same spot on both sides. Just touching there. There we go. So there's what happens with our tiny head. And then for our wide head, we want to expand those antennae, since we had to shrink them in. So let's, for the larger head, we'll move them up and out, just like this. And then for the midpoint, which is 70, not 32 like my normal bones, like these bones over here, would the center's 32. Here the center is 70, and that's where we need to do our resets. So we're going to take our bones right here and choose to reset them. So we need to reset all 3 features because we did move the bones up and over, not just up. So there we've got how it will look and it grow for each different skull size in this DNA chain. So there is our skull size. I don't think we need to do anything other than that, so we're going to exit out back to the main line. And then we always test each one as we're going. Switch back and forth to make sure your character's not changing a lot. And as you can see, our character is changing a lot. Both the chest is moving, and I don't know why, and the skull. So obviously I did something on the skull there that I didn't reset to 0, which of course we know that we did change those points on the top. And so what we need to do is go back to 70, select the object, the skull again. So we're going back to the skull itself. And now we can select all points, or just the 3 points we played with. It doesn't matter, because we're going to reset them back to neutral. So now they're released for any other bone that may need to move those points, like rotate head will. So now the skull is complete. We can go to the bone layer. And we're going to test that bone to see that it works. So it definitely goes down the minimal and to maximum head size. Okay, and we go back and forth, and we can see that the head is no longer changing as we jump from the construction layer to the functional layer. Now, the next DNA in our chain, the next chemical in our DNA chain is in the bone layer. So we got to go to the bone layer on the character. and choose this bone here, and that is eye size. So we're going to create a new action for eye size. Again, we're going to rotate the bone to the lowest position for number 1, which is right there. Then we're going to move to 140 and all the way to the right. So now we go in and grab each eye, and I've learned to do them individually. So we grab the layer control for the eye. So right now we've got this eye here, and as you can see, I've got it set for the center and the nose there, and that's the same for the other eye, so we keep them aligned properly. So now what we want to do is make this as large as we're going to make it, and it should have been at 0 or at 1s on these, but for some reason it's not, but that's the value at rest. So we're going to increase it to 1.5, so 1.5 times normal size, and that's what we get. And then we're going to go to the other eye, and we're going to change those values the same way, 1.5 by 1.5, and now that is our maximum eye size. Now we move this all the way to 1, and as you can see, it is shrinking because it's going back to the at-rest state, but we want the at-rest state to be at 70, not all the way to 1. So at 1, we're going to change the eye size to half. So we simply go 0.5, tab, 0.5, tab, and there's the eye at half size. The other one, we do the same thing. And there we've got the smallest eyes for our grasshopper head. And we go to 70 in the middle, and we want to go into each eye and choose the layer and then reset all 3 features of the layer. And we need to do that on both eyes individually. So see, now we're back to normal. So as you saw, it wasn't quite identical to shape and size. The shrinking and expanding definitely changes how the eye is shaped, but everything will carry through in how it functions. So there we go. So we've got giant eyes or tiny eyes. So then our next DNA, we need to test that. So we're going to go to normal. We grab the bone and we just test minimal size, maximum size. Now, not always, when you change layers, it doesn't always show in the 0 frame. You usually have to go to the frame 1 in order to see changes done to the layer. So now we're going to move on to the next DNA chemical in our chain, in our helix. So this one is called the antenna size. So we're creating a new action for antenna size. And with this one, we're not going to go into the antennas because we want to just deal with these as bones. So first we're going to rotate our bone for our value lever to 1 and then jump to 40 and move it all the way to the right. Now we're going to grab the antenna bones, all of them, just like this. And then we're going to grab manipulate the bone tool. And since we're going big, right now we're going to just grab this point and make all of them get bigger. This expands every bone we've got connected here. So both sides are growing at the same rate and together so it remains symmetrical. Then we're going to go all the way to 1 and we're going to do the opposite. We're going to just shrink them down to really tiny. So we really want to shoot for where it's at their natural state at the middle at 70. So there's 70, and There's 0. I got really close without even trying too hard. So I think if we bring this down just a little more, so we'll bring this bone touching the edge of the skull there. So this bone is touching the skull right there. Let's make it actual very right there. So now we have a set point, and let's go to 70. And we compare 70. Let's get rid of the grabbing of the bones. So we compare 70 with 0. And it's very close. Looks like if we make the large antennas just a little bit larger. So we want to grab the manipulate bone tool again, and then just make them a little bit taller. Then go back to 70, and then jump to 0. And now we're a little bit too big, so we can just bring it down just a hair. Too much? I think I went back to where it was. Yes, I did. There. So that should give us our center to be as close to 0 as possible. Very close. And so now we just reset at 70. So we reset, reset, and reset. And now our center is 70. So we go back to the main line. And we're going to go to the bone layer, and it didn't go to the main line. Why didn't it go to the main line? There we go. So now we're on the main line. We want to grab that control bone and test our antenna size. So there we can create grasshoppers with very short antennae or very long antennae. Alright, so now we're going to move on to our next bone, which is the nose size. So we click on action, new action, and we're just going to go to the nose. And you can get as elaborate on these changes as you'd like, as long as you reset everything to 0 when you're done. So I think what we'll do is grab all these points, and I could have just hit G on the keyboard, and then I'm going to hit T on the keyboard. Then holding Alt, I'm going to stretch the nose downward and outward. And let's make it encounter just under the eyes there. So, you know, yeah. So there's our huge nose. Oh, I forgot to move the lever. So we got to go back to the bone layer. And we need to move the layer to position 1. And then jump to 140. And move it to the maximum size. And now it's set for our nose to be at the maximum size. And then we're going to use T, and then holding Alt, we're going to shrink it, and we're just going to be short of touching the third eye there. And then we'll shrink it up again just until we're just about to touch the third eye. So a little bit close there. Let's bring it back out a bit. So there will be our minimal nose. So go back to 140 and stretch the nose wide and stretch it tall. So about right there. So then we go to 70, and it should be close to our 0. And it could be better, but we don't have to worry about it. We can just hit reset. And now all the points are back to what they should have been, as we only moved points with this particular bone. So now we're going to go back to the main line. And we're going to test our DNA. and get little bitty nose and great big nose. So that works quite well. So let's see what we've got here. I know there's a calculator on here. Yeah. So let's go to the calculator. And each one of these bones can move by its constraints to 140 points each. So if we go into bone constraints, you can see it's minus 70 and 70. And it should be that on all of these, but just to be sure that it is, yeah, you can see the little wings off to there. So we've got each of these are set to 140, and that means we have 13 different values here. 140 raised to the power of 13. That's what we're looking for. So as you can see, these, using every possible position, will produce 7.9 octillion. So here's million, right? Million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, hexillion, 7 million, and octillion. So that's how many characters we're creating out of this one puppet using this DNA. So now we're going to move to the next bone, which is the we just did eye size, right? So now we're doing mouth size. So we're going to create a new action for mouth size. And because the mouth is a complex object, we have to work with it on its layers. So we go to the head and find the mouth, and you can see the mouth has teeth, bottom teeth, upper teeth, tongue, and lips. So we want to affect all of those at once, so we're just going to grab the mouth layer, and first we want to go back to the bone. I keep forgetting to do this rotation here. So we want to rotate to 1 for our minimum, jump to 140, and do our maximum. And so now we can go to the mouth, and we're going to choose the layer here, and that allows us to expand the mouth using Alt to its maximum size. So let's say about right there. Very big mouth. But because we're making the mouth bigger, we also have to move the cheeks. So grab the cheeks, hold Shift, and just slide it to the edge. Just like that. And grab the other cheek and slide it to the edge. Just like that. So there's our largest mouth. And then we want to shrink down. As you can see, it does go back to normal, but not until we get to 1. But at 1, we want it to be a very small mouth. So we're going to grab Alt again, and we're going to just bring that mouth size down. Let's go about right there. Then we bring those cheeks in. Just hit T and Shift and drag them over. I think I just did it wrong because I think I did it with the layer on the other direction. So let's see here. Whoops. Let's go back to the 140. And yeah, see, because I did it with the layer, let's reset the layers because we don't want to change it by layer for the cheeks. So we just reset them both back to center, and then go into the object, grab the object and drag it over, and then the same with the other cheek. And looks like they really do need to come up since we've enlarged the face so much, so we're going to bring that point to the corner and that point to the corner, then jump back down to 1, and that looks fine there. So Now we go to 70 and reset. So reset, reset, and then the mouth being a complex item, we go to the layer and reset its layer. So there we go, and we exit out to the main line, and we manipulate the bones and change the mouth size. So now we can create characters with tiny mouths or giant mouths and in between. So now we're going to move back to the bone layer. Grab the next bone, which is cheek size. So this, what we're going to do is rotate it to, well, first we got to create an action for cheek size. Rotate the bone to the minimal position. Go to the maximum position, whatever you're using. Can be anything you want, but I use 140 on this particular feature. And now we're going to go into the cheeks of the skull. So remember earlier we only affected 2 points or 3 points. Now we're going to affect some other points. So for cheek size, we're just going to affect these 2 points here. So now we hit T to grab them both together, and using Alt and stretching, it will stretch from the center. So let's make our maximum cheek size. Now I saw some really weird grasshoppers on the internet. So let's go to where it's just right even with the top fingers here. So there's our maximum cheek size. And then we do the opposite, drag it inward for the minimal. And that looks all right. And then we go to 70 and see how close we are. And it's not very. But at this point, I'm not going to worry about trying to get it exact. I like the minimal and maximum, and so I'm just going to use reset and set it back to normal. So now we can go back out to the main line, and we test the bone. Go to the bone layer. And there's our minimum cheeks and our maximum cheeks. And we can do anything in between. Alright, we're going to move on to the next chemical in our DNA chain. And that is our heft. So this is how heavy looking the character looks. So first thing we do is in position 1, we want to rotate the bone to minimum. Jump to maximum of 140. I'm at 141 there, 140. And then rotate the lever all the way to the right. So now we're going to make the character hefty. And for that, all I do is affect the arms and the legs. I don't affect the hands, I don't affect the feet, I don't affect any of the rest of the body. Though we could, but I'm just going to do the arms and legs for now. So what we do is we're on our maximum position, so we need to go into each, not hand, but each bicep and forearm, and we're just going to make them bigger. So we don't change the end points because that's where they rotate. We don't want to change that, but we want to grab the 2 middle points, hit T, and then using Alt, we can drag down and make the arm much fatter. So there is that. Then we go to the forearm. We do something similar. We use G to grab these points, hit T, hold Alt, and stretch the part out to be hefty. Well, not that hefty. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay, so we want to make it look reasonable at the heft level. Then we go to the next forearm, or bicep and forearm. So here's the bicep. So G to grab, T and Alt and drag. So we just come just short of that, oops, other arm. Zoom in. And let's try to get it the same. So we could use the top of the screen here. And look at that, I'm right on. So there we go. So now we move to the forearm. G to grab the points, hit T, use Alt, and stretch it out. Don't go too far. And that looks good to me. We move to the next one. So biceps, G to grab, T to move, Alt to control how much. And we could use T and grab the whole thing here and drag it down to the other one to make sure that they're identical, which they're not, but that's the quick and easy way to do that. So then we can just put this back. But that risks moving where the points rotate, so I'm going to put it back like it was and simply hold Alt and bring this down just a bit. Go to the forearm, use G to grab, T to select, Alt to control, zoom in to get the good look, and then using Alt, stretching this enough to be right there. All right, and then the final biceps. G to grab the points. T, Alt, and out there. The forearm. G to grab. T to select. Alt to hold. And then stretch. So there we go. Our arms are hefty. Now we're going to go down to the legs. So we grab the thighs. Here's the one leg and here's the other leg. So this thigh first. And on this is not as easy. We're going to grab these 4 points. T, holding Alt. And we can grow them a little, but we also have to move them to do that. So right about there. And then the other thigh, we want to make it match. So we G to grab all 4 points. And T to select. And let's just go ahead and move it up a bit first. And then, using Alt, stretch it. And that looks about the same. And we do need it centered on this point here for rotation, so be properly positioned. You want to be just above the line there on the belly. Alright, so now we can go down to the shin, and on the shin we're going to grab the 4 points in the middle, hit T, and then Alt, and we're just going to drag sideways. And then the same thing on the other one. Grab these 4 points, hit T, hold Alt, and make it big. And then we're going to grab the spurs and we're going to move them to the right position. Right there. We've got to watch the bottom because that's what we're keeping in contact with, is the bottom of the leg. Right about there. And when we go to 1, now we go through all those parts again in reverse and make them smaller. So we grab shin, we hold Alt, and shrink those bones or those points down to just like that, and do the same thing on the other leg. Then we're going to bring those spurs in a bit because they are sticking out at the top. Alright, and now we go to the thigh. And first we can just hit reset to reset it back to normal, which it already did. So now we're going to make it smaller, so we just hold Alt and shrink these until they come in contact with the bone there. Switch to the other one, do the same. Alright, and then we're going to go to each arm. Using Alt, we're going to drag them together and right in contact with the bone there. Biceps, same thing. Whoops. Make it really skinny. Alright, we go to the next forearm. I'm holding Alt and I'm shrinking the bone. That's too much. Right there. And then the biceps, same thing. Right there. And finally the final forearm. And the final biceps. And let's make sure I haven't reversed the points completely, making it twist. It looks good. So the other side as well. And now I've got to go back into every single one of those and reset them all for neutral. So biceps, reset. Forearm, reset. Fortunately, the parts are staying selected, so this will be quicker than having to go in and select each one. Feels like I missed one. Yeah, that one. All right. So, is that everything? Can't hurt to over reset, that's for sure. Okay. So we now go to the bone layer. We go to the main line. We go to construction frame or frame 0, and now we test this bone. We check for changes between the rest state and animate state, very little, not enough to worry about. And so now we manipulate this bone all the way to the left. Character gets very skinny. We move it all the way to the right. The character gets hefty. Alright, so now we need to go to the next bone in our DNA chain. And this is thorax size. So we're going to first create an action. Go to the minimal position. And then take it to the maximum, which is 140. So for thorax size, we go into thorax, of course. Here we go. And let's see. Yeah, let's just change it by layer and just we're at maximum, so I'm going to hold Alt and stretch it, but move it up. So right there. And then move all the way to 1 and shrink it up. Whoops. And that should do it. So we're going to go back out to the main line. Oh, we need to do 32 reset. Or 70 reset, sorry. There we go. Reset, reset, reset. So now we can go to the main line and to the root layer. And test that bone just like that. I need to reset it. Let's go back to thorax. Let's just grab all these points. I'm grabbing bone instead of points. Okay, G. There we go. And let's reset them. Oh, I see what happened. My bones here are off. They're not on number 1. They're on number 2 or 3. Let's see. Let's just delete it and do it again. So we're in frame 1. And we're going to hold Alt and bring these inward. Now, because we're going to bring that in, we're going to need to bring the arms in as well. But let's go to 140 and make it wide. And check 32, or not 32, but 70 to 0. And looks like we can go wider here. So now we're going to go to 70 and hit reset. There we go. So we get wider and narrower. Now at the narrow edge, we need the bones to come in, and this is why I put the bones on shoulder bones here for the arms, so that we can bring this in, and we want to bring it to where the bone for the arm is just inside, like it was before we started with the normal position. So I want to keep the lower arms out just a little bit further than the upper arms. Then we're going to go to 140, and we need to stretch them out. And we still want them inside the body, or inside the thorax. And And we're going to go to the other side and stretch them. Just like that. And then we go to 70. And then we can just G or B to grab bones. And just grab all these bones that we've touched and just reset them all to normal or released. And there we go. So now we go back to the main line. We grab the no bones and check. So we've got a little bit of change happening. On the this arm here for the heft, apparently I didn't do a reset there. So we've got to go into heft, and then we want the top right or top left arm, the biceps, and we go to 70 and hit reset for the points. Boom. And the same on the forearm. Reset. So now we can go back to the bone layer and the main line. And now we can test our changes and there's our cheeks, our heft, and our thorax. So when we do that, we want to test our rotation that it still works. And because I put those bones on those shoulder bones, it does work on the rotation even though we've resized it. So that's what we were looking for. So now we're going to go to the next bone, which is to do the height. So now this is how tall the character is. So we're not just affecting the bones that make them taller. We're going to make the arms longer as well as the legs. So with this, we're just going to manipulate the bone to the first position, jump to 140, move it to the max position, and now we're going to do the height. So we're going to grab bones. So we grab B for bones, and then I'm going to grab all 4 of these bones, and then holding shift, I'm going to grab these 4 bones, and while still holding shift, I'm going to grab these 4 bones. So I now have 12 bones selected for height, and doesn't matter which one we grab, we can grab any one of them, and we're just going to make it the maximum length of the height of that character. So I think right there. So then we're going to jump back down to 1, and then we're going to shrink those bones the other direction. So we have a very short character. Go to 70, compare 70 to 0. Extremely close. So we just go to 70 and then hit reset on each of the bone features. And now we're ready to go back to the main line. And being on the bone layer, we can test that bone. So character can be very tall or very short. Very tall and hefty, or very short and hefty, or short and skinny, or tall and skinny. So yes, they are extreme, but that's the point. We've got everything in between those extremes. So everything between hefty and super thin. So we don't have to use the extremes. In fact, in most cases we probably won't. It looks like I still have a problem on one arm, the bottom right arm. Looks like I flipped that layer bit. So let's go into the heft again, and then go to the bottom right arm on the forearm, and we'll just hit reset. So now we can test. Yeah, see, I got rid. Oh, there's the twist happening there too. So let's go ahead and hit reset at both ends. And then at the top end, we're just going to hold Alt and stretch it back open to its maximum, which should be about right there. And then go to its minimum. One more click here. I went too far. Right there. So let's see, that should do it without twisting. Yeah, there we go. So now we can go back out to the main line, and that's quicker than scrolling. Double click the main line. Now we go to the bone layer, and next bone is going to be eyebrows. Well, there's no eyebrows on this character. So let's rename this to the third eye. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead and create an action for it. Third eye. And move the bar all the way to the left. For the first position, move to 140. Set the max position. And for the eye, the third eye, let's go to the third eye. Right there. And I think we'll just move it up and down. So for the maximum, we're going to be as high up as we can go. So we're just going to grab the object. It's not a complex item, so clicking shift, I'm going to drag it upward. And we'll bring it all the way to where those points are intersecting with the top of the nose. And then we go to the minimal position, and we'll just drag the nose down, or the eye down, and we'll bring it all the way to right between the other two eyes. And so then we go to 70, and we're lower than it should be for 70, but all we need to do is hit reset. And now our bone will simply travel downward quicker than it travels upward. So it will travel both directions, but downward moves more than upward. But it doesn't matter as long as we've reset in the center. So we'll go back to the main line, and then we test that bone. We'll go to the bone layer. Make sure we're in frame 0. And rotate the bone. So there we go. The third eye can be up high or down low. Alright, next bone is abdomen size. And so now we're going to go into the abdomen. Let's see here. Right there. And it's already selected, so we're going to grab T and hit Alt. Oh, first we're going to move that bone. We didn't move the bone. Let's go to the bone first, bone layer first. And move it all the way to the left for the minimal position. Hit 140. Move it to the maximum position. Now we go down to the abs. And this is going to be T to grab it all, and then Alt, and we're going to make it wide. Okay, and then we're going to go down to 1, and we're going to make it skinny. Now, because we're making it skinny, we've got to move those legs in just like we moved the arms in. Otherwise, it will not look right as we manipulate the character. So we now go back to the bone layer, and we use B for bone, and we grab this bone and hold shift and grab this bone. And at the minimal position, we need to bring those legs inward to where they are about right there. And at the maximum position, we're going to bring them outward to about right there. That way, when we go back to 70 and hit reset, then we go back to test it. So we go to the main line, and we grab the manipulate bone tool, make the character wide, and see how the legs, down here, rotate around the body at the outer edge. So it looks like it's just barely disconnecting. You see that there? So I've got it a little bit wide on those legs. They're just barely disconnecting. So let's go to the minimal position and check it there as well. So rotating around the body. Minimal is also just barely missing. Okay, so we're going to go back to the ab size. And since at the minimal position they're going over too far, we need to shrink them in just a bit more. So let's do that. And the same thing at the maximum extension. We just need to come back in just a little bit. And yeah, that looks good. So now we go back to the main line. And the bone layer, the construction frame, and we test wide, and rotate looks right now. There we go. It's still inside the body. So now at minimal, whoops, test it. Yep, they're rotating at the edge of the body. Very good. So now we can have a skinny, hefty, tall character. Alright, so now we're going to go to the next bone, which is wing size. So we simply go, first we're going to create the action. Rotate the bone all the way to 1 for minimal wing size, all the way to 140 for maximum wing size. So now we grab the wings, which is all the way at the bottom of the character. Let's do it by grabbing all 4 of those bones, or all 3 of those points on the bottom of the wing. Now T. And now I can drag it up, and very little wings. There we go. And then G to grab the other 3 points, T to select them, and then just move them up to the same position but centered on the bone. So that makes the wings short, but they're still kind of fat. So now we go back to 70. And that looks real close to where it was at 0. Wow, very close. So 70. And even though it's exact or very close to exact, We still want to grab all these points and reset them. And we can select all points if we want, because we're releasing, we're not setting them to anything. We're releasing them from being set. So there we go. Wing size is done. And we want to go to the bone layer. And watch the character as we select the manipulate bone tool. So, boom, hardly any change at all, which is what we'd like. And now we can test this bone. And there's the short wings and there's the long wings. Let's make sure they flap. So we're going to go back to the 0 frame for construction. And we've now got wing size, and so the final bone is sex. This is the whether the character is male or female. And so we're going to rotate this bone all the way left for female. Whoops, Control Z. I didn't create the action. So sex action. And rotate this all the way to the left. Go to 140. And at 140, this will be our maximum male. So this direction is female-ish, this direction is male-ish. So now we need to decide what features should we change to make this character look male as opposed to female. So I think we'll start with the antenna. So we're going to go to these antenna. So far all we've done is messed with their bones, but we can take it even further. So I'm going to grab the, let's see here, I'm going to grab these base bones here. So we go B for bone and grab these 2 bones, and for male we'll make it taller. So T to select, well, we need to be in the bone layer. So in the bone layer, select T. Now we've got these, and we're just going to make the base bigger, not the whole, all the antennas, but the base will be bigger. And then we're going to go into the antenna and stretch the base wider. So on the object, we're going to grab G for grab and grab these 2, and then Alt or T first to grab and select them. G to grab, T to select, and then Alt to stretch them apart. And we're just going to make them where they've got a deeper base. Okay, so then let's do the same on these bones here. So grab these and T and Alt and just make it thick. So for the male, we'll have the antenna getting thicker. So these 2 here. We still want it to taper down, but we want the base to be thick. So let's try grabbing all 6 of those. So G and grab and T and Alt. No, that doesn't work. We can't spread them that way. So we got to do them one set at a time, just like I did with the other side. So grab, T, and Alt, and stretch. About right like that. Then we grab the next set, then T, then Alt, and then click and drag. And then grab and T and Alt and click and drag. So there we go. We've made the antenna thicker. And let's go ahead and stretch the tips of them longer. So grab T and grab just this tip bone and stretch it on out. And the same on the other antenna. Just going to grab this point and stretch it on out. So there's the male's antenna. Now on the eyes, I know what we can do. On the eyes, we'll bring them inward. So For males, the eyes will be closer set to the nose. Let's make it touch that nose right there. And the same with the other eye. And what else can we do? Oh, the lips on the mouth. So we're going to go to the lips. And the way I've gotten these lips to look like this is simply by making them thick here on the center point. So we're going to choose the width and just bring these to be thin, real thin for male. Same on the bottom lip. Just going to make it real thin. So it still looks like lips, but they're very, very thin for males. The bottom should still be a little bit thicker. So there we go. And then we're going to go to the skull, and we're going to grab these cheekbone points right here. And for male, we're going to drop those down. So we're holding shift and we're just going to drag them down like that. And then for female, we'll move them up. But right now we're just working on the masculine view of this character. So now let's go down to the thorax. And for male, I'm going to drop this center point to try to make this more rounded with the lower part of the body there. And we'll make the shoulders, so we're going to grab these 2 points here and expand those. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Control Z. Zoom in where I can see them, and then just make them wider. So heavy shoulders. Okay, that shouldn't change the rotation around the body too much. Let's see here. No, it might. So with that wider shoulders, let's extend the bones for the shoulders as well. So because we reset them elsewhere, we can grab these bones and make them longer here as well, as long as we reset them back to center at 70. So let's go on from there. So with the male, the upper arms are going to be either wider than the bottom ones or as wide. Let's put it right there. So just barely wider. All right, and then what else can we change for male female? Let's change the wings a bit. We'll make them thinner for male or female. So on a male, let's go ahead and grab these points and see if we can move them. Let's see, Alt. Yeah, so we make the wings fatter for the male. And let's see, on the abdomen, the only thing we could change would be whether this is sticking way down or not. Yeah, let's pull them all down a bit for male. So there's our male character. I don't think there's anything else we should really change. So now we're going to go to female, and we're going to go and change those all to the minimum size of what we could do with them. So on the abdomen, we're just going to drag these up. Female shape, and the thorax for female, we need to bring the shoulders in. so where there's hardly any shoulder. And then we're going to grab those bones and bring them in. Right about there. And let's see, we changed the skull with the cheekbones, so grab those and holding Alt for female, we're going to bring those up, so high cheeks. And remember, we're going extreme here, we're not just doing female, we're doing the extreme end of the female line. So there we go. And the antenna, so we need to reset them at least. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make them any thinner than they were, but we can shrink them down a bit compared to the male. So they're already reset, but we need to also reset them at 70 to be at the same sizes. And so let's first reset all the bones. So B for bone, we grab all these and reset them. And so here they're taller, so here they need to be shorter. So B for bone to grab just these bones. Well, yeah, and then T, and then shrink them. So the female's base bones are shorter, and the tip bones will be shorter. So B for bone, T to manipulate the bone, and just shrink that tip to tiny. Same here, shrink it to be tiny. So there's our female antennae. The eyes, we moved the eyes in for the male, so we're going to move them out for the female. So we go to the skull of the head. So the left eye, we're going to grab that layer, holding shift, we're just going to move it out a bit. And then the right eye, we do the same thing. We want to make them as balanced as possible. Right there. So there's the eyes. And the third eye, we don't need to mess with for female, male. The nose we don't need to mess with for male, female. The mouth, we did the lips. So on the female lips, we want to go in and increase this thickness. So hit T, grab the point, hit W for width, and we're just going to make these lips thicker. And the same with these lips up here. So that's maximum female lips. And I think that should probably do it. I don't think we need to change anything else. But now we need to go through and reset everything to 70s. At 70 to reset everything. So on 70, and there's 0. Oh, it's exact. So we're going to just leave it. It doesn't need to be messed with. So what else? We've got the eyes. We need to reset their layers. So we reset, reset, reset. Reset, reset, reset. And the third eye, we did something to it. Oh, only on the third eye control. So yeah. We need to reset any bones that we've moved. So let's just grab every bone on the character. Just like that. I know we haven't moved all of those, but we'll just reset them anyway. Doesn't hurt to reset them. And there you saw the antenna move. Its arms and thumbs, and we don't need to mess with any of that. The head, the nose, nope. The eyes we did, the third eye, no. The mouth we've done. The cheeks, did we change? We didn't change the cheeks with the sex. The skull we did, so we're just going to grab all of that and hit reset. There we go. So that's back to the normal shape of the skull. The antennae, I think we've already done that, but let's just do it anyway. Just grab all those points and reset. Now they weren't back where they belonged yet. So same thing here. Whoops. Just grab all these points and reset. Alright, and what else? We got the thorax. Let's go ahead and grab all that. So T, and then grab the edge of the shape and reset. There we go. And abs. We did change abs. So we G to grab. Grab all those and choose reset. Did a little bit of change. And then the wings. Oh, we never did the minimal size for the wings. So when the character is a female, we want the wings to be even thinner. Like that. Even the shape changed a little. That works fine. So now we go to 70, and we want to just grab all those points. So G to grab them all, and then object, reset. Ta-da! And I think we are done with the DNA for this puppet. So how do we use this? Well, if we needed to create a bunch of relatives for ZoyZoy, and let's go ahead and save our work at this point. So we're going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to change the number up one more version to 3. So I can go back to where we were if I need to, before I started changing any of these. I hope I won't need to, but we should be done there. So now, with this, when we're in the animation layer, when we're in between 1 and the maximum, we can adjust these values to create a unique, brand new character on the fly in just a few seconds. And there are 8 octillion optional DNA layout here now. With changing just each of these, there's 8 octillion different possible characters. So here's a character. Now, to preserve this character, I want to lock these bones in place. The way I do that is when I set them up, I selected them and I named them as shy bones. So you can see this check mark here, it shows as a shy bone. With shy bones, we can go in and hide just the shy bones. And now that character is set. Whatever we do with him, we can animate him, we can go in here, we can make him turn the body parts. So we've got all the manipulation that we had with any other character. We can do the mouth, the phonetic mouth if we want, the whole bit. Everything works. The eyes still work just as they are. Doesn't matter what size they are. The features are all the same. So we can animate our character. And so now we say, oh, well, we need another one, but it's got to be different. All we got to do is copy the character. So we come here, we duplicate the character. We can give it a new name. So we can go, this is Giggle, Giggle Jump. So Giggle Jump. So Giggle Jump is different than ZoyRel. So we want to change this one so it looks different. So we go up here to the bones and we show the shy bones. Now we just need to change some of them. We don't have to change all of them, but we can change some of these. and create a family member who is quite a bit different than either Zoe or that first relative. And now again, we just go into bones and we hide the shy bones. And now that is a separate character. We can put them side by side and you can see they're related, but they're not the same character. And we can do that up to 8 octillion times, and each one will be a different character. And it's very unlikely that if you and I took this character and decided to make a new random character, that we would create the same character. It's just very, very unlikely that you are going to select all the exact same points and bones that I can manipulate here for changing this character. Let's put the third eye down there. We'll make this character a little taller, and let's see, some really wide cheeks there. So now we've got not giggle jump, but focal hop. Alright, so we've got 3 unique characters in just a matter of moments using digital DNA. Now we can go into this character and lock those shy bones, and now I won't accidentally change what this character looks like as I go through and manipulate my story and make the characters do whatever it is I'm going to have them do. So we can, bring the arms out and around and tilt the head and blink the eyes or look it up or who knows what. We can do anything. And the point is they're all individual characters. There's no overlapping between the two of them. You can tell they're different characters. There's, very little need to designate to anybody that these are obviously different characters. And we can also change their sex. I didn't do any sex changing. So let's show the shy bones. And so this character is extremely female, or we can drag it all the way to the right for extremely male for the same base character, yet it creates another character. This is not the same as this character, nor any of the 138 possibilities in between. So even with just this sex, we can create 140 different versions of this one character. So there you go. That's digital DNA. This is how you can create literally billions and quadrillions and octillions of different characters on the fly whenever you need them. And they're all rigged just like Zoy's, so the hands work the same way. We can bend the fingers in and out and grip items, the whole bit. Everything works just as it should, including the mouth. Now you got to realize that all these bones we're seeing are only for this character, so we have to ignore the other 2 characters, but we can easily turn them off while we're manipulating what we want this character to be doing. So we can bring these arms out, twist the hands around where we can see the hands. Let's see if I can grab that bone. There we go. So very easy to create the character doing whatever we want it to do, and we can create a unique character based on the ZoyZoy character at any time simply by duplicating this relative character and then using it in the animation. And this is how I've done the story for the Bug-Illagers. If we go to the Bug-Illagers episode 16, I think. So let me pull that up here. We're going to go to animation and comic strip the Bug-Illagers, and let's go to number 16. And we have a bunch of marching ants. So you can see each of these ants are individuals. They are all unique. Every one of them's different, but they're all made from a single puppet. all put into the same scene easily in just a matter of moments. So that's the power of digital DNA in Moho. Thank you for watching. Visit Danger Aware. We definitely could use some help. We need animators, we need cartoonists, we need writers, and we need funding. So please visit our site and donate to Danger Aware.
Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm, watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud, let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore.
Thank you for watching. Please hit that like, subscribe, and share, please. Thank you very much.